today I'm going to get quickly into dealing with those pesky, stretchy seedlings that you want to stop stretching and actually grow the leaf matter and start the veg stage off on a strong note. So without further ado, I want to mention one more thing, that I stream on Twitch and we're doing a pretty good Elden Ring playthrough. If you want to go join the channel down there, you are welcome to do so. I stream in the mornings almost daily, but let's get into how do you stop your seedlings from stretching so you can get a good foundation into the veg stage. So if your plant is stretching, it's going to show certain characteristics, and those characteristics while it is growing are it is going to sprout, and then the petals that are round and smooth are going to pop out of the soil, and these leaves are meant to start the photosynthesis process and then start growing the plant as a result. But if you don't have everything you need to do the photosynthesis process, then you are not going to get as far as you want to into your growing career, because photosynthesis is the entire basis of everything that is growing. It is basically the god of every plant. So what do you need for photosynthesis? Well, for photosynthesis, you need energy, which can be light energy, it can be food energy, water energy, just energy in general. Now, this energy is going to come in a lot of forms, and one is light. And that is the first thing we're going to be talking about, is how do you stop your plant stretching because of the light? Since a plant that is stretching will be growing, adding plant cells, we're not going to be talking about the water in this video, because if your plant is growing and stretching towards the light, it means it's getting enough water to be able to grow, or enough food if you do need to feed it at this point, which you shouldn't need to. But if you are having problems with your light, it is going to cause your plant to stretch, because it is looking for light intense enough to be able to absorb into the actual plant itself and then repopulate or reproduce cells in the plant, making the plant grow its next leaves and then its final multi-fingered leaves. So there are a couple things you can do to remedy this situation when it comes to light. Now, you can buy a more intense light. Sure, you're not going to be able to grow a plant with a normal desk light or maybe even normal room lights, but you will be able to if you buy a proper grow light. And that's one of the things that you really shouldn't cheap out on, is you need to get a decent, appropriate light for what you are growing. And the reason I use appropriate and not super big and super intense is because you don't need the biggest, baddest light on the market. Because maybe you have a grow space where you can only use an SF2000. Maybe you have a space where you can use an SF6000 and it doesn't matter. But you need to use the appropriate light for what your needs are going to be. May it be multiple lights, may it be a single grow light, you need a appropriate grow light. And if your grow light is not intense enough, no matter how close you get it, no matter how much you dial up the dial, you are not going to be able to grow a cannabis plant with that kind of condition. So you need to buy a decent light that fits your needs and fits the plant's needs. So assuming you have an appropriate light to actually grow a cannabis plant effectively, the next step is going to be determining where the intensity actually needs to be when it comes to growing your cannabis plant. Now, thankfully, seedlings don't need a lot of energy. Therefore, they are extremely easy to grow. However, the kicker with this is if you want to grow multiple plants at a time, you're going to want to dial it up a little bit more, because that energy is going to be a little bit divided, because it's not going to be bouncing off of surfaces. Rather, it is going to be absorbing into another plant. So instead of bouncing off the wall and going to your instead of bouncing off the wall and then going onto your plant in a slightly less intense way, it is going to be bouncing into a plant, absorbing into the plant, a little bit of light's going to be bouncing off, and your plant's not going to be able to use that. So you're going to need to intensify your light a little bit more, but not much. you're going to want to find the point where your plants are finally growing their leaves. And this can happen overnight. It will start growing its serrated leaves or start showing any leaf growth at all. That is a sign that you're on the right path. Now what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to make sure that your plants are not too close to being light bleached, which can happen. But an easy way to do this is just make sure that your plant is far enough away from your light that it is still in a comfortable temperature range. And if you're using an LED, which I recommend on almost every single grow, it's going to be very close before you can actually burn your plants. In fact, I've seen plants touching LED lights and not burning them over a short period of time. Obviously, you don't want your plants touching the light, but it just goes to show how much cooler LEDs run than any other light on the market. And also, they're a lot cheaper to buy and they run cheaper. Save yourself some hassle, save yourself some stress. Go with an LED, and if you need to supplement for heat, use something else because you need that light efficiency. With that ad for LEDs out of the way, let's just move on. So determining your light height. Now, this can vary a lot, obviously, but you're gonna want it no more than 2 feet above a seedling, because if your light is too high, it's gonna get a big spread, and then a lot of your energy is gonna be towards the outside of the plant where it's not gonna have access to it at all. So you're gonna want it up as close as you can possibly get without burning it and without it being too intense. Now, there are a couple ways you can adjust LED lights. Thankfully, they do come with dials on the top, normally on the side of the little mechanism where all of the power modules are at, and you can dial to a certain intensity wherever you need it, and you can move it up as you grow, and you can also adjust the height. So you're going to want it at a point where most of the energy and most of the concentrated energy is going to be on the plant. This is going to ensure that your light is intense enough to grow the plant, and at least 7 days of growth is going to be supported under that light. At least 7 days of growth. If you have to move your light every couple of days, you might be doing something wrong. So that is something to look out for. But if you need to move your light, I would say once a week, once every 2 weeks, you're probably on the right track because that plant's in appropriate growth. And this goes into the veg stage and the flower stage as well. Every once in a while, you're going to need to raise your light just to keep everything balanced, just to keep everything growing properly. But this is how you keep your seedling from actually stretching, is you mess with the intensity, make sure that if it is stretching, you up in that intensity or move the light closer, whichever you have to do to get that plant to stop stretching. But if it's stretching, it means it's growing. So you're watering properly, most likely. If you got any value out of this video, please leave a like. It really helps the channel out a lot. If you have any other tips for growers who might be struggling with stretching seeds or not being able to advance to the veg stage for whatever reason, please leave your comments down below. It will help me get ideas for other videos, help me spread information, and it will also help other growers who are looking in my comment section. So definitely leave those. But if you are new here and you want to learn more about cannabis and how to grow it, just hit that subscribe button down below and hit the bell and get notified every single time I upload. I am out.